For years, Sarah had dreamed of taking her daughters, Emily and Chloe, to Disney World. They had saved diligently and planned carefully, and now the day had finally arrived. The three of them stood at the entrance, excitement bubbling up inside them. As they stepped through the gates, the first thing they saw was a life-sized Mickey Mouse doll waving to guests. Emily and Chloe squealed in delight, running up to Mickey and hugging him tightly. Sarah smiled and took pictures of the moment. But when they tried talking to Mickey, he remained silent and still. Then, Mickey's head turned slowly to look directly at Emily and Chloe. The girls gasped as they stared into Mickey's eyes, which were dark, empty, and terrifying. They pulled back, unsettled by the lifeless gaze. Sarah felt a strange chill despite the warm Florida sun. Maybe he's just really into character, Sarah thought, trying to shake off the uneasy feeling. They continued into the park, eager to experience the magic. Their day was filled with laughter and fun as they moved from one attraction to another. They rode the teacups, explored the haunted mansion, and met princesses. But as they ventured deeper into the park, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She kept seeing the same Mickey Mouse doll out of the corner of her eye, watching them from various spots around the park. Every time she turned to look, Mickey would be gone, replaced by cheerful crowds and colorful scenery. "Mom, did you see that?" Chloe whispered as they walked toward Space Mountain. "See what, sweetie?" Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Mickey, he's everywhere." Sarah forced a smile. "It's just your imagination. Let's go have some fun." The sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park. The twinkling lights came on, adding to the enchanting atmosphere. They were having so much fun that they didn't notice the park slowly emptying of guests. By the time they left their last ride of the day, they found themselves alone in an eerie stillness. "Mom, where is everyone?" Chloe's voice trembled with a mix of fear and confusion. "Maybe we just lost track of time. Let's head to the exit," Sarah replied, feeling anxious. As they made their way through the now deserted park, they saw him again, the Mickey Mouse doll standing under a street lamp, its shadow stretching ominously across the ground. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. Why hasn't he taken off the costume? She wondered aloud. "Mom, I'm scared," Emily whispered, clutching her mother's hand tightly. "It's okay, girls. We'll find our way out," Sarah said, trying to stay calm. Suddenly, from the shadows, more figures emerged. Minnie Mouse, Goofy, and Donald Duck joined Mickey, their eyes glowing eerily in the dim light. The characters moved with an unnatural grace, their silence adding to the terror. "Run!" Sarah screamed, grabbing her daughter's hands and pulling them into a sprint. But every path led to a dead end. The gates were locked, trapping them inside the park. The characters closed in, their silent stares sending chills down Sarah's spine. The family tried to find another way out, but every turn seemed to bring them face to face with one of the characters. Panic set in as they realized there was no escape. "Mom, what are we gonna do?" Emily cried, tears streaming down her face. "We have to find somewhere to hide," Sarah said, trying to think clearly despite the terror gripping her heart. They ducked into a nearby darkened snack stand, huddling together behind the counter. Sarah's heart pounded as she listened to the approaching footsteps. The characters' shadows loomed larger, creeping closer to their hiding spot. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped. Sarah held her breath, straining to hear. The silence was broken by strange, whispering voices. The characters were talking, but their words were garbled, spoken in a language Sarah couldn't understand. The whispers were eerie, filled with an unsettling mix of malice and glee. What are they saying, Mom?" Chloe whispered, her voice barely audible. "I don't know, sweetie, just stay quiet," Sarah replied, her heart racing. The whispers grew louder, the words overlapping and creating a chilling noise. Sarah could make out fragments, strange, foreign syllables that seemed to echo in her mind. The characters' shadows shifted and Sarah felt a cold dread wash over her. "We need to move," Sarah whispered to her daughters. "On the count of 3, we'll make a run for it." The girls nodded, their eyes wide with fear. Sarah counted down silently, her heart pounding in her chest. As she reached 3, they bolted from their hiding spot, sprinting towards the nearest building. The characters were caught off guard, their whispers turning into hisses of anger. Sarah and her daughters ran, the adrenaline pumping through their veins. They found another employees-only door and rushed inside, slamming it shut behind them. Inside, the room was dimly lit and filled with costumes and props. The characters followed them in, their movements slow and deliberate. The family backed into a corner, their eyes wide with fear. "Why are you doing this?" Sarah shouted, her voice echoing in the small space. The characters didn't respond. Instead, they grabbed the family, their grip unnaturally strong, and dragged them further into the room. Sarah struggled against the iron-like hold, but it was no use. The characters shoved them into a small, dark room and locked the door. For a moment, everything was still. Breathing heavily, Sarah looked around for an escape. But then, she noticed something horrifying. 3 new Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy costumes hanging on the wall. They were empty but disturbingly lifelike. As the realization hit her, she felt a cold hand on her shoulder. Turning around, Sarah saw the costumes moving on their own, closing in on them. The family struggled and screamed, but the costumes seemed to have a life of their own, enveloping them in darkness. The next day, as the park opened and guests poured in, a new set of Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy dolls stood at the entrance, waving cheerfully. No one noticed the hollow look in their eyes or the faint sound of muffled screams from within. The family had become part of the park forever, trapped in a nightmare they couldn't escape. As the sun set and the park closed once more, the characters waited patiently, knowing that new guests would arrive the next day, unaware of the horrors that lurked within Disney World's magical facade.